Riddle me this, Batman. Why does changing the C to a K make our green skin not so friendlies more futuristic? By simple virtue of being spoken after when reciting the alphabet? Is this the stupidest intro I have ever done? My name is Benji, and this is the guide to your first 25 power 500 points of Orks. Why two different measures of an army's potency, you silently ask? Well, because power is for your open and narrative play needs. Easy breezy of you. And points are the magic beans for match play. For when you want some granularity and an even playing field. And for those of you that have beheld one of these videos before, you'll know that it's all about imparting as much layman-friendly information up in your ears as possible. But also to forge two divergent paths for you to chew on. For no other reason than to sample as much of the codex and what your available options are as possible. Favouring variety of models over whatever is meta and uber competitive at any given moment. With that in mind, we were kinda teed up by a raft of new models in the Plant Boys' range to have one of those paths worship at the altar of the Beast Snagger. Those monster hunting savages. And because new isn't always cool, we're going to make our other build a bit more traditional, with some conventional wisdom choices, but also some speed freaks vehicles and shenanigans to keep things at least a little bit fresh and awesome. So by virtue of an imaginary coin toss, it's the old is the new build, with a splash of hot rod up first. And even our friendly neighbourhood Skeen Grins can't deviate from saddling on to a tried and tested patrol detachment at this breakpoint. For our warlord, we are going full Finecast with the Weird Boy. A Psycho HQ by name and a batshit crazy by nature. These fairly cheap HQ choices really do work well with the good old boys we may or may not be bringing. And who doesn't like to sling psychic powers? On its own, the Weird Boy isn't going to do much in the shooting phase because, well, he doesn't have any ranged weapons. And although he can do a job in the combat phase, that's not where his strength lies either. Because with 20 models, not including Gretchen's within 12 inches of him, he can pop off twice in the psychic phase, allowing him to convey the combo wombo of deep strike and +1 attacks on a nearby group of boys. That alone can be enough to justify his place in this here list. But there's 4 other choices in the powers of the War discipline in case you're feeling adventurous. Which segues very nicely into a lone troop choice of a healthy sized unit of 20 boys. The deliciously swarmy rank and file of the traditional Ork army, lending strength by virtue of bringing overwhelming numbers to the battlefield. These right guys rarely get to their target in one piece, but a blob of models will always have its time in the sun. And with the aforementioned movement cheating, your Weird Boy may be able to impart upon you alongside the here we go rule, allowing you to re-roll charge rolls. You've done enough to stack the odds in your favour, and it's then that carnage can commence. Yes, you can set these up as shooter boys with slightly stronger and longer range weaponry, but we're sticking with some slugger boys to tear shizzle up in the combat phase. And because you should never miss an opportunity to mention how many dice you could be throwing in combat, that's up to 80 plus dice for a full strength unit of boys if the Weird Boy does his thing, and a not too shabby 60 plus if he doesn't. All at weapon skill 3 up and strength 4 AP -1. Oh yes, that sounds fun. Don't forget the boys were the most welcome recipient of a boosted toughness to 5 as well, making them that little bit more durable. We had choices at this point in the fast attack slots, which of course had to include a speed freak model. If you wanted some Mad Max style road warriors, then this is when your ears should be pricking up. The range of buggies has been a wonderful addition over more recent years to the codex, and you have 5 choices, 3 of which provide a hybrid ranged melee option, and 2 go all in on shooty shooty. And we've opted for one that does both, and the one that's hardest to say after a few beers, the Rucker Truck Squig Buggies. The MVP of its loadout is the Heavy Squig Launcher. Not only does it have a 36-inch range, but you do not need line of sight to target a unit. And the Assault 2d6, Strength 5, AP-2, 2 damage shots are the cherry on top. And as if that wasn't enough on its own, it's also rocking a sawn-off shotgun and a regular squig launcher. All of this on top of 9 wounds, a 4-up save and a 10-inch move. Oh, and the Strength 7 saw blades if you decide to try and take this up close and personal. All for the super efficient cost found on screen. And it was at this point we were supposed to transition to a heavy support choice, Death Dread, in order to tie in with the combat patrol box that would have saved you a few pennies and would have fit snugly on 25 power all in. But upon reflection we thought these speed freaks are just too cool, and so we decided to pick another one. This time though we went for one of the shooty options. The custom Booster Blaster is rocking a 36-inch range rivet cannon with 9 Daka shots if you're within 18 inches and 6 any other time. This Strength 7 AP-2 Damage 2 cannon with a K is a great deal of shots for that high strength. Ironically though, this little buggy really wants you to fly close to the sun, because you can churn out an insane 4d6 strength 4 assault shots with the burner exhaust that automatically hits. Yep, that's right, you can advance and let them do their thing up close and personal and not worry about any hit penalties. Somewhat strangely, you can also dole out some mortal wounds on the charge, even though it only has some vanilla strength 5 melee attacks to back it up. As you can see then, even the shoot first speed freaks have got some game, however you encounter them. And that there is a combat patrol list that mixes the traditional with the petrol heads. And as you can see, with some headroom in the power and points department too. This will allow you to add some custom jobs to your vehicles and or up your boys count just for the lols. It's funny to think that Orks are no longer just a one-trick swarm army. Don't get me wrong, that's still a thing, but with the combination of speed freaks and the beast snaggers we're moving on to, there are a number of different ways you can field the greenskins now. And so with a new codex can often come new models, and this time round Ork fans were spoilt with the introduction of beast snaggers, aka those who really do like to go to town on monsters and vehicles. Oh, and squigs. How can you not be charmed by that colour scheme and that welcome smile? Speaking of which, our warlord is the mighty new beast boss on Squigosaur. And trust me when I say this little squiggy packs a rather dramatic punch. Now we'll get to its offensive output, but how about toughness 7 for a cavalry unit? Backed up by 9 wounds, a 4-up armour, 5-up invuln, and an incoming damage debuff that sees you taking 1 less damage to a minimum of 1 per unsaved wound. That is what tough to take down looks like. On the cavalry side though, you're looking at base 6 attacks at strength 6, with AP-2 and damage 2 from the beast boss himself, and a measly 3 strength 7 AP-3 3 damage attacks from the Squigosaur's jaws. Oh, and when his squig rolls an unmodified hit roll of 6, it's a straight up 3 mortal wounds instead. Man, this is a sweet HQ choice and well worth its cost. Then we move to the more interesting question of what do the troop choiced beast snagger boys, here coming shrimp wrapped in a unit of 10, do that makes them different to regular boys? Well, an oversimplification to this answer would be that they are strength 5 instead of the old boys strength of 4, for 2 extra points per model. They of course also get what all good beast snaggers do with a 6-up invuln, which shouldn't be sniffed at, Trust me when I say your opponent telling you needn't bother rolling saves because your tripe 6-up armor save is negated by my armor pen really does suck. Oh, and of course all these new guys also get +1 to hit against monsters and vehicles. So point them in the direction of the nearest big thing and have at 'em. Of course I'd much rather have a slightly bigger unit as they feel a little bit exposed at this model count. But let's see, we might be able to figure a way around that. Before we do, it's welcome to Fast Attack Town. You see, if you think the Speed Freaks were going to get all the limelight in this here category, then think again. Because 2 units of 3 Squighog boys are here to go buckwild up in your opponent's grill. Because A, they are swift as shuck with a 10-inch move. B, swing 5 attacks each at strength 6. C, get a reasonable thumbs up on the durability scale with 3 wounds, a 4-up armor 6-up invuln save, all wrapped up in a 6 toughness bow. And D, they once again put Orks on the back of hilariously awesome looking squigs. Plus, because they're core units, which is never a bad thing, especially with synergistic units like our Warlord Beast boss in tow, giving them +1 to their hit rolls, it's time to call the reliability police because things just got out of control. Which leaves us with a choice I didn't think I'd be making in the Beast Snaggers build, that of a truck taking up a dedicated transport slot. And just importantly, with its transport capacity of 12, taking the Beast Snagger boys for a quick sharp ride up the battlefield. Yep, read 'em and weep, Primaris Marines. These new, larger Beast Snaggers can fit in older transports. So what else does a truck do other than play taxi? Well, it's open topped for one, so it's possible your boys will get some shooting off before they disembark on some unlucky unit's face. They also, like all vehicles in the codex, get ramshackle, reducing most incoming firepower's damage by 1. Meaning the 10 wounds and 4-up armor save looks a little bit safer than it did before. Yes, the big shooter on top ain't going to be doing much and exemplifies how painful a ballistic skill of 5-up can and will be in an Ork army. It's volume of fire or nothing. But despite the mini rant, very little of that matters because for its points cost it does exactly what you need it to do and how. And that there is your Combat Patrol Beast Snagger themed build. Both lists are fairly mobile, which is what you need when you wear loincloths and leather. It's all about getting up in your opponent's grill for the most part, and both builds provide a variation on that theme. But the moral of this list is, when in doubt, take squigs. Just as cool as you would expect from 2-legged red-pink piranhas to be. Not only that, the Beast Snagger boys surprisingly fit snug as a bug in a rug with the truck, ready to unleash hell. One point of note though, unless you're one of the 10 people lucky enough to have picked up the Beast Snagger launch set, you may or may not be able to pick up the Beast Boss on Squigosaur. But thankfully you can just proxy one of the 2 knobs on Squigs that come in the box with the Squighog boys. And that leads us to talk about the damage to your bank account. And as you can see, even with the assumed cost of the Beast Boss factored in, the Beast Snagger build would still come out marginally more expensive than the traditional one. Which is basically as you'd expect from a new product line. But to be fair, considering the model count and the size of some of the models, neither of these builds comes out at an outrageous cost. And one thing worth considering, at least for the old boys build, is you can get the 20 boys from a Combat Patrol box that also comes with a Warlord in Mega Armor, 3 Deathcopters and a Death Dread that I mentioned earlier. Yes, it costs roughly double the boys do separately, but food for thought if you can put the boat out a little bit more and like the look of what's in the box. Alas, that is the end of this first chapter of our Greenskins tale. I'm pleased the way these 2 lists came out, and even though it's been a while since I've gotten to the table myself, it's nice to see such variety of crazy shenanigans on offer in the product line. As always, should there be a clear and present want and need for more Orky army building content, we will of course continue this story at the different army size breakpoints, up until it continues to be helpful. But for now, I have been the voice of Benji, and this video has ended.